Welcome to the second Raw before the Rolex 24. Welcome back to Motorsport 101. You asked for it, and you got it. Welcome to episode 416 of Motorsport 101. I'm your friendly neighborhood host, Dre Harrison, and we're talking some sports cars, like somewhere Cam is putting his hand over his chest and smiling warmly to the clouds.
We have a healthy top class. I haven't known this feeling in a little over half a decade.
I mean, Cam, how long have you been a regular on this show now? I think it's been about at least 3 years now, right?
You brought me in to preview Le Mans 2019, and I don't know. Wow. I guess you liked me and kept me around.
Yeah, so good 3.5 years. Like every time we've even mentioned sports cars in passing, let alone like the occasional full episode. Like Cam has had to resist and sometimes failed to resist the urge to rant about the state of sports cars.
I was brought in to rant about the state of sports cars. That was my whole MO on that first episode.
It's like, do you feel naked right now having to talk about sports cars in an actually strangely positive light? Just asking as a friend.
I feel like I'm sipping my favorite drink. Sitting in a leather recliner that has that very specific leather sound when you move around in it in front of a fireplace.
Yeah. All reliable.
And I am at peace.
He is at peace indeed. That is Cam Buckley here, sports car specialist and all-round solid egg. And also joining us live from Daytona itself, in the media center as we speak. He was able to land on terra firma, and he's doing us a few solid for him to be here. RJ O'Connell, hello, sir.
Now, I'm also a sports car specialist, to be fair.
Of course.
Yeah, it's in the name of one of my one of the sites that I write for. But yes, welcome from a insulated, soundproof radio room inside the Daytona International Speedway Media Center. We are parked up right across from the broadcast booths that are right on top of the main grandstands, the only grandstands that are left. So we're right across from start finish, right near all the garages where all the new cars and a lot of the old cars, let's be fair, are here. It's been hard getting a hold of any drivers because they're all in their motorhomes and they're super busy. But, the least that I could do, because we did have plans to have like a whole crew of people be part of this Rolex 24 experience. It gradually whittled down to just myself, but I figured why not have as much fun in the world for dozen people at the same time. I'll do my best.
You will fail to have as much fun as I would be having, and I don't blame you for that.
Indeed. Yeah. Oh, have a good one, my friend, is the first thing I will say. First and foremost.
They need to turn down the sun a bit because I can't be getting sunburn in the middle of January.
Well, unfortunately, the race does take place in Florida.
But it's still winter.
The funny thing is, though, like I love the fact that the sunburn would have potentially your face matching your hair color, which would be very cute.
Yeah, I am. You can't see it because podcasting is a visual medium, but I have dyed my hair pink again. I feel like enough time has passed and I have enough incentive to go out into the world where I felt like, yeah, sure, I could spend $150 on somebody to dye my hair because I trust them more to do it than I would have on my own.
That sound logic is if I do say so myself. So yeah, we got RJ live from the track as well. So yeah, we're very, very lucky in that sense to talk over the Rolex 24. And yeah, wow, it's going to be an exciting time. I mean, this is my second time actually watching this race properly. I wish I could watch all of it in full. I've got one extra live stream on the other gig at WTF1 on Saturday afternoon, which is a bit of a shame, but hopefully hopefully I won't miss too much of the action besides that, because I'm looking forward to sitting down and watching some sports cars this week. It's just nice to have some cars again. Like Formula E was not hitting like it normally does. Like not like FE, at least you got a chance of some chaos. Sports cars, definitely there will be some chaos involved. So that's going to be fun at the very least. So we'll get into the Rolex 24. We'll be talking a little bit about the healthy top class, as Cam alluded to, the new cars.
So beautiful.
It's so beautiful. Like we finally find out what the H in it stands for, as RJ quite fancy alluded to in our notes here. We got new GT3 cars. We'll go over a little bit of the war before the 24 qualifying, some of the BOP changes. Spoiler, there isn't much somehow, amazingly. I'm as shocked as you are. And yeah, we'll go down a little bit of a preview of some of the other classes as well. So all of that over the next probably 45 minutes to an hour or so. Don't worry, for those who are maybe not the biggest fans of me hosting this show, this is probably the quietest I'm going to be in a good year. You're welcome, Internet. It's good for the voice box. But in the meantime, it's places you can find us. We're on youtube.com/motorsport101. We're on facebook.com/motorsport101. We're on Twitter at motorsport_101. If you'd like to follow our personal handles, you can at RJ O'Connell, at cbuckley917, and at Dre_WTF1. You can check out our website. One take. You can check our website out at motorsport101.com. And if you really like us, you can back us financially on Patreon, patreon.com/motorsport101. $5 gets you early access to all of these episodes before they go out. $10 gets you in the supporters club of our Discord server. We can listen to these episodes live as they're being recorded. We've got some guys in the audience as well. Zoe, Toki, thanks for watching along as ever. Hope you enjoyed the show tonight. So without further ado, let's get into the Rolex 24. When I was putting this set list together and obviously putting the notes for this show, I was going to go into this with the angle of, gentlemen, you're the sports car folks. You love this shit a lot more than I do. How would you convince a potential new viewer into watching this event? And we'll break it down from a bunch of different angles first and foremost, because as RJ has said many a time on this show, every show is someone's first. Every Rolex could be someone's first, and I think that's the easiest way to potentially convince people to get excited about this, right? At least I'd like to think so.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the top first, because I mean, look, we care most about the LMP ones at the front, the DPIs, we should say, at the front, you know. And
it's not even the DPIs. This is the new era of IMSA GTP, aka LMDH. What does the H stand for? The H stands for hybrid. But here in IMSA, they call it GTP. Why? Because back in the 80s, IMSA used to call their top class GTP. Back when it was mostly Porsche 956s and 962s, funded by any number of legal and illegal means.
Yeah. We take our cash in anyway here.
Yeah, they accept cash, check, and broken bones. If you're that way inclined.
Don't forget the briefcases with the snow inside.
Of course. Does the briefcase glow when it opens, like in Pulp Fiction?
You'd hope not.
Let's talk about these. Let's talk about these new GTP cars. This is actually a continuation of. It's not really a continuation, but it's a similar model. Cam, there is a lot more going on to it than just LMP2 tubs kitted out with special body kits and a different engine.
Yeah, that's more or less what DPI was, where you'd have manufacturer styling grafted onto an existing LMP2. And then with DPIs, the engines had to be production based. So you had Nissan with the GTR engine, Cadillac with the ever venerable LS. We really should LS swap the Sun. Will make it far more reliable. And so on. It had to be production based, and really a very inexpensive way to get into manufacturer LMP racing, but nothing really beyond that. With GTP or LMDH, it's a little bit different. The key to these new regulations really is around that introduction of spec hybrid power. It's a spec hybrid system, not a huge amount of power on there, but still a big deal to get that integrated with these cars. Same deal as DPI in that you need to buy the chassis from an existing LMP2 manufacturer. In this case,
spoiler alert: this is the only time where you will see people happy
Actually
to
talk
line
about
up around
this.
Yes.
Yeah. Porsche is using the Multimatic chassis, which is to say that Porsche effectively installed their own regime in Multimatic and then designed the tub. Because, as becomes a common theme, Porsche, who are very, very good at this, are continuing to be very, very good at this.
Shocker.
It's so sexy. I've seen it. Was the first car I saw assembled in person. They had a spare lined up, just chilling in the back of the garages.
Unfortunately, they may need to use some of those spare parts after qualifying. More on that in a moment. Acura paired up with Orica, continuing their incredibly successful partnership from the previous generation of cars, and Cadillac and BMW both being customers of Dallara. Cadillac continuing their involvement, and BMW returning to prototypes for the first time since 2000. And beyond that, we also have full manufacturer control over the aero, so they can style and modify basically any panel on the car. But it has to fit into an aero model of about, you can make 4 times as much downforce as you do drag, but nothing more. That sounds like a lot. That's actually not very high. I mean, the LMP1Hs were pushing 6-to-1 on that ratio. The old GTPs that had full ground effect in the 90s were over 6-to-1. So that's really going to try to control some of the aero spending that ran rampant in the last couple of top class categories for prototypes. And you no longer need to use a production-based engine in GTP. So we've actually got a few really interesting engine choices.
Mm-hmm.
As mentioned, our manufacturers that we have now are Porsche, BMW, Acura, and Cadillac. And all of them have gone different directions. I'll probably start with the most interesting one, at least on paper, is that of the Acura. Well, if it sounds like an IndyCar engine, and it goes like an IndyCar engine, it probably is an IndyCar engine.
Or rather, it should have been.
It should have been, because they are using Honda's aborted 2.4-liter twin-turbo V6 that was meant to go into the IndyCar, but those plans have been shelved indefinitely because, well, IndyCar can't get their dick out of the door. Ever. Over anything. But it sounds good. It's been fairly reliable up to this point, and as we'll get into later, it's been pretty damn fast. BMW is using a twin-turbo version of their old DTM V8. Cadillac is using a brand new 5.5-liter naturally aspirated V8 that sounds just chef's kiss up on the banking. I mean, it sounds like the old Corvette GT1 cars did, only even angrier and higher pitched. And then Porsche, well, even when you have to go into the parts bin at Porsche, the parts bin is pretty damn solid because, what engine did they bring back from the dead? That of a little LMP2 we used to call the RS Spider. The car that was an LMP2 that was throwing hands with LMP1 cars from the mid to late 2000s. Then it also went into a hybrid sports car called the Porsche 918. You may remember it as a member of the Holy Trinity. Well, that's back, also twin turbocharged. These are real good.
Yeah, these are real good. These, again, are not just LMP2s body kitted up. There's like real neat shit going on underneath the surface. Like, it's been fascinating. I'm not the biggest engineering snob, but it's fascinating to see all the different stuff they're doing with the aerodynamics and the engines and the suspension work. Like, Cam, weren't you just talking about before we went on the air how the
the 963 the 963 more or less has the front suspension cribbed off of Red Bull's F1 car from 2 years ago.
Really? What?
Because Multimatic does Red Bull's suspension, so they so graciously handed that over to Porsche to stick on the front of the 963.
Graciously, he says. My God. I had no idea that was even a thing.
Yeah. You can actually see it in the front of the car, all the different hydraulic elements. It is more or less front suspension technology cribbed straight from Formula One. In some ways, it's more advanced than what they're running now because you're actually not allowed to run some of the trick hydraulics in Formula One as a result of the 2022 regs. And so, despite them being on paper a little bit slower, quite a bit heavier, these cars are already about on DPI pace, and they're doing it while also having unique looks and sounds and having a lot more involvement on the manufacturer side of making that car their own.
I was going to say, I think they were right around last year's pole time in qualifying this time round this year already, first time out of the box, which is a pretty good sign.
In cars that are about 130 kilos heavier and have significantly less efficient aero.
Yeah, so pound for pound, they're a lot quicker, you'd feel, right?
Yeah, I mean, if they were allowed to run at the same weight, they would be miles quicker. And based on the performance they showed relative to DPI, and where DPI is relative to hypercar, thanks to the Glickenhaus slowing everything down over in WEC, these
Thanks,
are actually
Aston Martin. You're the best.
Thanks, Aston Martin. I'll remember that the next time you're both eliminated in Q1. It ends up really creating a situation where these cars are already ahead of where hypercar is right now, despite on paper having far less freedom in what you can do with the hybrid system and the tub.
Interesting. Like there's, I mean, what's the best way we put in this? It is wild that that's just Porsche, and we've still got, we've barely even touched on Cadillac and Acura, and where does BMW fit into all this, Cam? Because I'm curious about seeing them, obviously, with a GTP in the top five.
It's good to see BMW back because really it was long rumored that, and it was constantly shot down that they would return to top class prototype racing. The last time they were there, it went pretty damn well, winning Le Mans in 1999 and just kicking tons of ass over in the ALMS. But it's a car that is late and behind schedule. It's shown turns of speed. It has very solid driver lineups. It has WRT running the team, who are just, their reputation is above reproach from all their work with Audi and GT3 racing.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's a car that is... Well, let me put it to you like this. Porsche was running the 963 up the hill at Goodwood. The BMW was a mock-up on a sculpture. That's kind of how far behind they are as far as the timeline of their program.
Levels to this.
Like Audi had time to build a car, assemble a team, and then cancel that entire program before BMW actually got the car on track. So there is good there in the BMW. You can see the turns of speed that it does have. And they were only about 0.8 off in qualifying, which we'll get to in a moment. But they're not quite there yet.
Yeah, I mean, that's been the rolling narrative. Even I've noticed in our Discord talking about it, in the build-up to this race, just how far Porsche are ahead of the field in terms of running. I mean, Cam, for those who don't know, put it into some sort of perspective for us.
Before this car has turned a racing wheel in anger, it has turned about 20,000 miles of testing.
Sheesh. Yeah, that's hitting the ground running in terms of their preparedness.
Yeah, 100%. It's like Porsche are way ahead of the field in terms of development time and track time, and you'd have a reason to think they'd be confident about their long running compared to the field. I mean, despite that, Cam, I mean, we've talked BMW, we talked a bit about Porsche, obviously. What about the others? What about Cadillac and Acura in the grand scheme of things?
Well, the Acura throughout the entire week at the Roar before the 24 has just been a bullet. What you'd expect given the chassis done by Orica, noted creators of Orica Cup, the only LMP2 worth having.
The only LMP2 worth having and not shopping up and turning into an LMDH.
Yes. And propelled by a literal IndyCar engine. And also run by the defending winners of this race. Acura goes into this year's 24, having won this race 2 years in a row and having just run the field over in the championship last year. Meyer Shank Racing and Wayne Taylor Racing know what they're doing.
Oh yeah.
They have had plenty of experience running in this race, running in this series. And the Acura really, at first glance, shares most similarity to its predecessor, the ARX-05. It's not a bad car to use as a base, given the car won 3 out of 5 championships it competed in, lost the 4th at the death in 2020. And Cadillac, they seem to be about there on pace, maybe a half step behind Acura and Porsche, who've been pretty much dead even in the run up to qualifying and through qualifying. But also Cadillac has not had the most reliable running. Their car, again, a little bit behind schedule, but also it's the most mechanically simple, at least on paper, out of all these 4.
Interesting.
So, and we also, they're run by a little small organization, Chip Ganassi. I heard he's pretty good at this whole racing thing.
Yeah, he might be a bit. You got teams like Ganassi, Penske, Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan. Wow, Meyer Shank. Wow, it really is an IndyCar podcast deep down if you think about it.
Yeah.
I believe the only teams that don't have like any IndyCar ties are Wayne Taylor Racing, the Konica Minolta team, and they've had like teases and flirtations with it, and then Whelen Engineering Racing, aka Action Express Racing, aka a team that's run by this family called the Frances, who may or may not run the sport NASCAR.
Well, you see, RJ, Wayne Taylor Racing didn't have any IndyCar ties until they did, because now they're partnered up with Andretti Autosport.
That's right. Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to mention a little bit about that because, I mean, Michael Andretti, I believe, is here this weekend, and he's spoken a lot about the situation. I mean, Andretti is everywhere. We all know what they're really trying to do at the moment when it comes to their motorsport future, but they've also spoken about wanting a full-blown team here, right?
Yes. Well, not only here, but also in WEC. Now, thing is, that is going to be, generally speaking, that's going to be a Honda global decision. But they want in on WEC.
It's like McLaren, where all of a sudden McLaren, who insisted they just wanted to focus on Formula One, all of a sudden now want to race in everything. And now Andretti, who obviously are already building that huge facility over back at Indianapolis, are trying their damnedest to try and get into Formula One right now, but also are now talking about IMSA and WEC on top of it too. I mean, this is wild, the amount of money they're throwing about. This is a lot of clout. I mean, don't get me wrong, I know Andretti's got a lot of ties to a lot of big players in the sports.
They have ties to practically everyone here, and like half of Formula One.
Yes. It's like, please be friends with Michael. Maybe one of you guys can hook us up with something, right?
Well, they run Porsche in Formula E. They used to run BMW in Formula E. They want to run Cadillac engines in Formula One, and they already run Honda in here and in IndyCar.
But besides that, it's fine, right? You know, they know where their bread is buttered, in other words.
They could run one of each GTP as a customer, and no one would bat an eye.
One for all 4 of their drivers, which, by another interesting fact in the race, we have all 4 of Andretti's IndyCar drivers in this race, all in different classes. So
all of them in different classes, and I believe none of them are racing actually under the Andretti factory name.
That's correct.
Which I think is hilarious. It's like it's a great reversal. It's like, also I love that Zoe, who is also a huge Andretti fan in our audience, is like, Michael out here being, quote, I am serious about motorsport, and Zoe just going, Andretti win all the classes, which that is technically feasible.
It is technically feasible. Andretti Autosport has an entry in their name under LMP3.
Yes, mean class as we call it here.
Mean class, yet the one that didn't have a crash during qualifying.
Somehow, how did that happen?
Funny how things work.
Yeah, like that is funny. It is pretty funny. But yeah, that is the Andretti place in the grand scheme of things. and just seeing where we hold out at the moment. I mean, shall we talk a little bit about the Raw before the 24 before we get into some of the lower classes for a minute? I think that'd be a wise idea. Like, Cam, we got to talk about your mans.
I do have to get my mans, who actually replied to me, and I went full fanboy on Twitter.
Yeah, that's
that would be Nick Tandy.
That would be Nick Tandy.
The Tandy Man.
The Tandy Man is back in a Porsche prototype, and just as he was setting the fastest sectors of all on the way to pole, he got a little too greedy into the bus stop and just blew the nose.
Chicane.
You can't make me acknowledge that. You have no power here. I am not owned. I am not owned. You can't make me shrink into a corn cob. Yeah. Tandy was going real fast until he wasn't. Went full Nielsen. If you've ever watched the replay of the 1991 Daytona 24 Hours, you know that one of the Jags did pretty much the exact same thing. Only that one almost ended up in Lake Lloyd. Thankfully, this one only really wiped out the nose on it.
Yeah, it was a rough brush on the nose, but it did put Tandy out for the rest of the session. Because, I mean, it was only, 15 minutes for qualifying? So, you were already under a fair amount of time pressure. And I think that was with about 6 minutes to go. There was a red flag till about 2.5. Pardon me. But they basically turned it into a one-lap shootout by the end, basically, because there was only about 2.5 minutes left when we got green again. So everybody had one last run at it. And
ended up being a contest between son of Stig, Tom Blomqvist in the 60 Acura versus Felipe Nasr do Brazil in the number 7 Porsche. And you'll kind of see the theme running through the top class that this was close. Blomqvist got pole on a 1:34.031. Nasr only 0.083 back.
Yeah.
On their what was really actually a suboptimal lap times from those two, because they only had one lap. They couldn't really get the tires warmed up. Had this run like a normal quali session, we might have actually been into the 1:33s around where the lap record is here. First time out for these cars.
Yeah, I believe Tristan Vautier had the previous record. I think it was a 34 dead, funnily enough, and that was roughly the same as what the pole time was.
Think about this, though.
Yeah.
All 8 cars that were able to set a lap in that session and not have it taken off the board because they caused a red flag or whatever, within 0.8 of a second. If you lop off the 2 BMWs at the bottom of that, they're within 0.6 of a second.
Yeah, the BOP... Yeah. Thankfully, the BOP, that dirty word in sports car racing, the BOP seems pretty damn solid between all these cars. Again, BMW, maybe another step behind. That's kind of where their program is right now.
Yeah.
And then the Cadillacs, maybe a half step behind. The Acuras and Porsches were pretty much dead even all week when the two of them were actually pushing, and even more so in qualifying. There was nothing in it between them.
So I think I'm right in saying BOP, the only adjustment is I think the BMW was given a couple of extra liters. Is that right?
No, that was the GT3 BMW.
Oh,
we will talk in passing about the GT3s because there are some new cars there. Not that you know it, because none of them are actually featuring in the top times. But as far as the top class BOP, pretty much spot on from day one.
It looked like it. I mean, if the whole field is covered by 0.8, that's not bad. That's a pretty good place to start, right?
Right.
Yeah. Who knows where Tandy would have put that benchmark if he had been able to finish his lap and put it on pole. But this is competitive. This is exactly what everybody was hoping for when this class first launched. And there is a real excitement. I could tell you for free, the photographer's room that is right down the road from us is full. It is Wednesday. The race has not started yet. It is bringing out most people. I expect this press room to be filled with riders by the time we roll up to Saturday morning.
Yeah, I mean, it was posed in the set list. Are we in a better place than where we were? Absolutely.
Yeah. And the thing is with IMSA, their top class was already fine, but this
was okay. DPI in its midsection was the middle of the DPI kind of timeline was solid.
Yeah,
and then the Nissan went by the wayside. Not really the car's fault. And then Mazda withdrew to the shock of everyone. We only had 2 manufacturers left. We now have 4 manufacturers with more on the way. Lamborghini is already confirmed. Alpine is already confirmed. We have more rumored on the way.
That could be fun.
The hits just keep coming.
Is there an upper limit to how many GTPs we could get in the top flight? Is there a running limit for that? Because we're already at 9.
We've never been in a position in modern IMSA to actually be at that limit. So
yeah, wow. As long as you get like around 60 cars for Daytona, and they did expand it to 61 because it's the 61st race. Anything's kosher.
Okay, it's like that old phrase in the sport of snooker. It's like there is a time limit as to how long it takes to play a shot, but no one knows what it is. Which I think is a great.
Ask Peter Ebden about that shit. That's a deep cut for all you snooker heads. Can I just say as well that I mentioned the 61 car entry list. They had a 10-car deep reserve list. They had to turn people away from this event.
That is wild. I've never heard that before. They're turning people away?
Yeah, they have reserve lists at Le Mans, but this is the first time that I'd seen it at Daytona for a while.
It's like it's like yeah, keep your trailer outside the track just in case. You never know. Someone might not make it. Someone might pull out. A team might get a COVID infection. Who knows? Obviously, God forbid. But
God.
But you never know. Keep the trailer parked outside just in case. So that's going to be interesting to say the least. Like, before we get into the interest a little bit, and we'll have something to talk about that as well. I mean, you guys wanted to talk a little bit about the GTP as well, and some of the new cars in the GT3 area as well. So what's been going on down there?
Absolutely. So Lamborghini this is not a new car. This is the Evolution 2 of their Huracan GT3 that's making its competitive debut this weekend in both GTD Pro and GTD, aka GTD Pro-Am, aka GTD Classic. Iron Lynx are positioning themselves as the new Lamborghini Works team. They will have 3 of their new cars across both the GTDs, including the very successful Iron Dames project, which will have the all-female lineup of Sarah Bovey, Rahel Frey, Michelle Gadding, and Dorian Pinn, who is going to be one to watch in the future, in the very, very near future. In addition to those...
Dorian Pinn's like a superstar, by the way. Yeah, yes. Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Carry on,
God. We have the newest evolution of the Porsche 911 GT3R. This is the 992 generation model. All of its predecessors have been pretty good. I mean, the 991.2 won this race last year.
RJ, the 996 won this race overall about 20 years ago.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Never forget. And then Ferrari have gone with a completely new model. It's the 296 GT3, built by Orica in close coordination with the new 296 GTB, as in Bravo, road car. This is one of the wildest things that I've seen. It's like, yes, it's all new, but the thing I'm impressed is like it's built so modular. It's like a prototype. They've stuffed so much in the front bumper assemblies that like it's like building a car with a Lego set.
Yeah, it's like the first time you watch, you go back to an old Le Mans video and you watch Audi just rip the entire back of the R8 off and bolt a new one on. That's basically what Ferrari can do with one of these.
They have Trey, let me tell you, I was sitting in an interview with another driver that will be up on dailysportscar.com. We were actually discussing as a tangent the waiting list for the Ferrari 296 GT3. If you were to order one right now, when would you say you would be able to take this car out to a race for the first time and have it delivered to you?
Maybe 3 months?
2025.
Huh?
Oh my God.
It is a 2-year wait list to get this car. People love the hots.
Like, which one? to be fair, like the lack of haunts, shall we say, like the love for the haunts has always been there. That's never been the problem with the haunts. But I didn't realize that the 296 was that popular. There's a 2-year waiting list for one of them. Holy
what
crap.
can I tell you? Rich dudes with disposable income that love to race cars. Some call them amateur drivers, some call them gentleman racers, some call them dentists. They love dropping dollars on Ferraris and Lamborghinis and Porsches because that is fucking status symbol shit.
You love to see it. You love to see it. That is wild. I mean, before we get out of here, because there's a lot to there's a lot to go down here. Obviously, I mean, fellas, what do you make of the top class in general? Who do you think is going to come through? Who leaps off the page to you? We'll go a little bit down class by class, but what are the keys to the race, and what's the ones to watch for you guys?
I think the biggest key is these are brand new cars, and testing, as much testing as Porsche and Acura and Cadillac have done, it's not racing. We have 9 GTPs vying for overall honors. There's a legitimate shot that all 9 of those cars could break at some point. In fact, there's a very high chance that all of them could break. So the biggest key to the race for me is just going to be reliability. Stay out of the pits. If you're in the pits, it's for fuel and tires. Stay out of the pits.
Fuel, tires, brake changes. That's it. If you're in there for anything else, you might be in trouble.
Right. Really, there's a few lineups that leap off the list. I mean, the defending champions in the 60 car, as Ryan Eric King once referred to them, the other Acura. And then no team has ever taken anything so personally in then winning that race and the championship at it.
They had a dartboard with King's face on it in the back, clearly.
I took that personally. I mean, both Acura lineups. I mean, Wayne Taylor Racing. Oh, they needed a couple new drivers. Who did they get? Louis Delatraz and Brendan Hartley.
As you do.
As you do. Both BMW lineups, that, despite the issues that have been plaguing that car, we got Colton Herta in both BMWs, actually.
That's right. That is a thing that you can do. He's splitting the 24 with Philip Eng, Augusto Farfus, and Marco Wittmann in the 24, and Connor DeFilippi, Nick Yoli, and Sheldon Vanderlinde in the 25. Those are all serious dudes.
Imagine just having Colton Herta as a floater here. Like, just to have him.
Just as a +1.
One of the fastest dudes in single-seater open-wheel racing right now, a guy that probably should have been in F1 this year, is just hanging around 2 different BMWs. Or as I now call him, Swolton, depending on a
certain Herta. God!
On a certain pair of YouTube influencers, which we'll get to shortly.
I mean, both Cadillac lineups. I mean, the 02 car, Alex Lynn, Richard Westbrook, Earl Bamber.
That's the car that's not even going to be there all season, because this is Rolex 24 only, and then that thing's going to WEC or WEC. I don't want to pronounce it WEC. You can't make me.
It's WEC to me. I don't care
it's WEC.
What poll our friend and yours, Lizzie Blackstock, wants to put up. It'll be the WEC to me.
It's not her fault. It's the ACO's fault for insisting that you need to pronounce it WEC, but also ELMS instead of ELMS.
No,
ALMS instead of ALMS.
No, WEC sounds like it sounds like a trouser accident. I'm not calling it that. I'm sorry, it's not happening.
Dude, I hit the bus stop so hard I wecked my pants.
That was me in Gran Turismo 7 the other night.
It happens to the best of us.
And in the other Cadillac lineup, I mean, Renger van der Zande, winner of this race, generally pretty solid. Sebastian Bourdais,
winner of this race.
Some dude named Scott. I heard he's pretty good at this whole racing thing.
Def, Dixon, etc.
We didn't even mention the Whalen car yet, which has Pipo Derani. Yes, it's a bit wild at times, but he's good at this race. Alexander Sims and Jack Aitken starting up his own prototype career. We love that for him.
Good for Jack. He's one of the good boys.
I would have brought it up earlier, but equally with the BMWs, Action Express Racing has looked rough They look strugglicious in testing. There's always time to turn that around. There's always time for a Pipo Derani end of the race stint of the gods / stint of nonsense where he runs into 3 people. No in between. And then there's the Porsche lineups. Felipe Nasr, Matt Campbell, and Michael Christensen. Oh, Matty Campbell's so fucking good. I still can't get over that Bathurst pass, which was 5 years ago.
I still can't get over that finish to GTD Pro in this race last year.
Yeah, defending class winner last year, despite Lawrence Vantor's best efforts and some of his worst efforts. And then in the 6 car, Dane Cameron, Matthew Jaminet, and Nick Tandy. It's really just an all-star race when he comes down to it.
Yeah,
pretty much.
You look at it by the numbers, right? We actually do have a post about all the major accomplishments. And the thing is, like, it's not even like the 9 Formula One drivers that are in this field, the 4 Le Mans overall winners that we have. Going through, we have 7 different IndyCar race winners and 10 drivers that have contracts for 2023. There's just so much hardware in this field. 55 of these drivers in this field have won a Rolex watch in any class.
55. Good Lord.
Yeah, I mean, that's not even getting like LMP2, which we joke about as another meme class, and they were nerfed again this year to the contention of many people.
I mean, people in LMP2 are not happy about this.
And honestly, I don't even see why they really nerfed them given the pace that the LMDHs are showing. I digress. I mean, noted drivers who apparently just weren't good enough to get a top-class ride. Scott McLaughlin and Josef Newgarden.
The Bus Bros. The Bus Bros in the number 8 Tower Motorsports car are going to be taking part. And best of luck to Josef Newgarden of his new site, Podium Life, which just launched today at time of recording. Joseph's one of the good dudes in motorsport, all those. We wish him all the best there with that. But yes, the Bus Bros, our favourite motorsporting YouTubers, are going to be in the number 8 car. They've talked about it a lot on their YouTube channel, so keep some tabs on them for some. There's bound to be a bunch of great content there regarding those two. They're going to be in there with John Ferrado and Kiffin Simpson, who I believe is going to be in Indy Lights this year. I think Kiffin's going
Kiffin Simpson, Ganassi development driver Kiffin Simpson.
Yes.
Let me just look at some of the other names that are not good enough to be at or couldn't find an opportunity.
Raffaele Marciello,
the house
GT driving machine.
Oh, I tell you, with him at High Class Racing, with Ed Jones, Dennis Anderson, and Andrew Stewart back for Marciello, this is an audition for him to get a GTP or a hypercar drive sometime in the future. And if it's not going to be with Mercedes AMG, it's going to be with somebody.
Yeah. I mean, going through names you might recognize: Pietro Fittipaldi, Austin Daytona 500 winner Austin Cindric,
as you do,
the only NASCAR driver in the field this weekend.
For Rick Ware Racing, of all people, as well, which is just all sorts of wacky.
Alongside Ryan Eric King's favorite IndyCar driver, Devlin DiFrancesco.
They got Jimmy Bruni running for Proton Competition, and Proton Competition's only doing this in LMP2 because they haven't gotten their Porsche 963 yet. AF Corsair in this race, and they were just out here testing the new 499P hypercar at Sebring down the road.
Yeah, I mean, much of this LMP2 field, as RJ said, is auditions to try and get rides or teams that don't have their cars yet. With supply chain issues, Porsche has not been able to get their customer cars out the door. I mean, Acura was late on some of their components. BMW are just late, period. There's actually supposed to be more cars here. And we will see more cars in IMSA later in the year. Proton's getting a Porsche. Joda is running one in WEC, potentially could run one over here.
JDC Miller
JDC
Motorsports
Miller are supposed to be running some.
They're running LMP3 here, and they've put a sticker on their LMP3 Duquesne D08 that says, "My other car is a Porsche."
We just haven't gotten it yet.
Excellent. It's stuck in shipping. What do you mean you didn't pay for the 24-hour shipping option?
They should have ordered same-day shipping at 11:59 p.m.
Amazon Prime let them down badly on this one, I think. I love that we barely even mentioned Rinus VK's in this field and Oliver Jarvis in the LMP2 field, as you do, you know.
Oliver Jarvis, who just got displaced from the reigning champion team.
Yes.
Ryan Dial, still in the league.
Still in the league.
I saw that man race. Ben Keating, probably the best bronze driver. Nicolas Lapierre, a man who should have won Le Mans overall a couple times, won LMP2 several times. There's good quality to be had in this LMP2 field. I just really hope that they are not a hazard to the cars around them with the horsepower that they have lost. Similarly, LMP3, it kind of in the same boat. But they
call it meme
still
class
talent.
for a reason.
There's still talent to be had here. There is still talent to be had here. But you really got to go looking for it.
I say I recognize Lars Kern, who's been tremendous for Porsche and GT3. The Andretti Autosport car is always a threat. You have Gabby Chavez, Jared Andretti, Dakota Dickerson, Rasmus Lind. That's a solid lineup. Otherwise, we just hope they don't cause too many full course yellows.
Felipe Fraga and Josh Burden for Riley. I see Daniel Frost, an Indy Lights driver for MRS GT Racing. Nico Verone just signed to a Corvette racing deal with AWA in their number 17 car. They got Yu Kanemaru in this, who was a former Super GT test driver.
It's a good lineup. it's a good lineup. What about the GTs, folks? Who leaves off the page to you there before we get out of here?
It is hard.
GT is weird because all those new cars we mentioned, they have all been straight garbage this week. None of them they've had trouble cracking even the top 5 with any new GT3 car.
Trey, think about this. You think that, like, you know, if there was going to be GTD like balance of performance bias, it would always be in the favor of the new cars because, ooh, new shiny toy. Actually, it's quite the opposite. The feeling is that, especially in the Porsche's case, they feel like the Porsches are holding something back, and all the Porsche teams have said, no, we just don't have the straight line speed.
So how much do we believe them on that?
To be determined.
To be determined. I did not pick them to win their class.
Well, so what? Who do you reckon will then? Is Cam going to nail his flag to the Corvette Master again?
In what
they're
way?
Not a bad shout.
Honestly, I say save predictions for the end because we have one more class to go through as well.
Yeah,
that's GTD Vanilla.
GTD Light. Basically exactly the same as GTD Pro, except not Pro, where we still have some pros, but you have to have some lower class drivers as well. And pretty much the same boat. None of the new cars were very competitive. Actually, the Mercedes GT3s were exceptionally competitive. They locked out pole on both classes.
Okay, so let's go for a quick rundown, class to class. Who do you think wins each one? GTP first.
I'm nailing my flag to the mast for Meyer Shank Racing to do the repeat. I think Tom Blomqvist is in the form of his life. Colin Braun was a shrewd
NASCAR Truck Series alum.
He was picked up from Core Autosport. Core Autosport died so that Colin Braun could get his first chance at a proper factory prototype drive. And I've no doubt in my mind, having watched him race in person, he will excel at it. Oh, by the way, they have these two dudes named Elio Castroneves and Simon Pagenaud who've also won this race before.
Not bad. I mean, only
when they're your plus ones. Only.
It's not a bad team. Cam, are you in the same boat?
I am not. Come on, Dre. Really?
Silly question, I know. Wait, you go in number 6, aren't you? Let's be real here.
I think I gotta go number 6.
You have to. He tweeted you. You've got to do it.
He tweeted at me, Nick.
We
appreciate the content. But yeah, I mean, given just how much sheer mileage they've run, as well as the relatively trouble-free running, I got to go with one of the Porsches. I'm going to go with the 6. If there is even any rain, and it is not predicted to have rain this weekend, but it is also Florida.
It is Florida. You never know.
If there is even a shred of rain, we know how Nick Tandy is in the rain. And also Dane Cameron, series champion, real solid. Mathieu Jaminet, wrecking machine in a GT3 car. All the signs point to Porsche not just having the speed, but the longevity to get it done.
Yeah, the reliability is probably what leaps off the page, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a fair point. Real quick, LMP2.
I got a bold prediction. This is a relatively new venture. This is CrowdStrike Racing by APR. That's Algarve Pro Racing. They actually have one of I believe it is the same Penske chassis that they used as their test mule before they launched the Acura DPIs. This is a very interesting lineup because, yes, Esteban Gutierrez didn't have much F1 success, but he's still a solid and accomplished driver. You have him supplemented with a young guy, Matt McMurray, who is super talented in his own right, Ben Haley, who's run the Indianapolis 500. But the key to all these prototype classes is the bronze drivers. I've seen George Kurtz, co-founder of CrowdStrike, used to be co-workers with some dude named John McAfee. That dude can wheel.
Yeah, he's actually been very solid. Yeah, I mean, that's a really Matt McMurray has been around forever. He started in top class prototypes in when he was 16.
Yeah,
wow, and he's still young, and it's all these years later. For me, I gotta go high class racing.
Number 20,
the number 20 car. Marciello is just him in sports cars. Every time he gets behind the wheel, and also, I mean, the rest of that lineup ain't bad. Next driver is probably Ed Jones.
Ed Jones
pretty decent,
bit
good. I mean, there's people there are people who are genuinely thinking, if all the GTPs run into catastrophic problems, that car could take home an overall win here. It would take a lot, but it's not entirely out of the realm of possibility.
It's not. It really isn't.
Yeah, absolutely. Are we all going 36 for LMP3?
I'm going to go 74. I'm going to go Riley Motorsport.
That was going to be my pick, too. Felipe Fraga is another top-of-the-line driver, one of the very best in the series. I can say the same confidently for Josh Burton as well. I think they're going to be the two anchors, and as long as Glenn Van Berlo and Gar Robinson don't cause too much trouble, they should be very fine. Actually, Glenn Berlo's under 30 years old, and so is Gar Robinson. They got youth on their side. They should be fine.
Here's hoping. Okay, GTD Pro.
I'm going outside the box. I'm picking the Iron Lynx team and the Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evo 2. It's a pretty solid lineup when you have Andrea Caldarelli, an SRO Triple Crown champion, Mirko Bartolotti, Jordan Pepper recently signed as a Lamborghini factory driver, as has Romain Grosjean, who, if that's your weak link at the team just from lack of recent relevant experience, because it's been over 10 years since he's driven a sports car race like this, you're in pretty good shape.
Yeah, I'm going to go same. Given what we've seen out of them, they seem to be the only semi-new car who can keep the previously run GT3 cars in sight. I'm going to go Iron Lynx as well. I mean, again, when Romain Grosjean on pace is your weakest link, you're probably in pretty good shape.
Yeah. It seems like you're in pretty safe hands to me if Grosjean's your fourth guy.
I will say, though, before we get to GTD Pro, I want to talk about the 64 car for a bit because they have 2 bronze and 2 silver driver lineups, and they're big braining this shit because there's a lower minimum drive time. So all they have to do is just finish, and they're in for a top 10 result.
Yeah, I love that they're just big brain in that. Love that. GT Vanilla, as you would say, RJ?
I am going to go with a new entry. It's the Racer's Edge Motorsports with WTR entry, which means they have the backing of Wayne Taylor Racing and Andretti Autosport backing behind it. Ashton Harrison can wheel.
Yes.
Ryan Briscoe can wheel.
Always could.
They have got a very solid lineup. I would not be surprised if they won it first time out of the box. I know it's tempting to go with Windward Racing in this instance because they had the fastest GTD car out of all of them, but nobody who's ever won pole in this class ever went on to win the race.
What do you reckon, Cam?
I just want to pick the 16 car, but I know the Porsches are not fast in GTD.
Who knows? It may not come down to that. Who knows? But I mean, I get the vibes though.
I am actually gonna go. I'm going to go with the funny team from last year because thankfully the idiot running that team is no longer involved with that. I actually go with the 32 Mercedes, the one that looks like it's run by the factory Mercedes F1 team, but actually no, it was just formerly owned by one who then had a massive meltdown and left the team when they weren't winning everything all the time.
Yeah, after the stink of the Henry Gilbert versus Guy Cosmo feud wore off, this team was a legitimate title contender all the way through the season, and they've gotten even better.
Yeah,
Mike Skeen, Kenton Cook, Mikhail Grenier, and Maximilian Goetze, a DTM past champion. That's solid.
I'm looking at Maxi Goetze, and it's hard to look past that. Man's is real solid.
That will just about do it, folks. That's your Rolex 24 preview. I'm going to look forward to sitting down and watching a lot of this race. Can't wait for it. Going to be fascinating to see how all the new cars, all the new regulations, and how it all plays out. When's the start time, gentlemen? I think it's like 1:20 something, I think it is. Forgive me on that one. I think it's like 20 past 1.
Holy shit. I'm so underprepared for this.
You just got here, to be fair.
Yeah, I might have done just got here.
Yeah, the actual race coverage of the 24-hour itself starts at about 1:30 on Saturday, January 28th.
So tune in for that. I believe for us Brits, it is free on their website, imsa.tv. You can watch the whole thing completely free. So if you're bored over the weekend, why not just have it on in the background while you're doing something else? Can't hurt, right? You know, go
or stop what you're doing. Watch it.
Yeah.
Sports cars are great, and they're going to be even better with a healthy top class prototype class.
I'm here for this. I'm so excited. I got to be a part of this. Cam, I know you were looking forward to being here.
I'm angry as hell, and I'm not going to stop about it.
It breaks my heart that you are not here because there is like a genuine, very good vibes all around this place. Folks, reach out through your screen and know that I'm feeling you. If you need some undercard entertainment, Emmett's 5 Cup, best show on the planet.
MX5 Cup at Daytona. Unironically, okay? Some of the best racing you will ever watch in any series. Please do go out of your way to watch it.
Yes. I feel you out there. I feel you through the internet.
That'll do it. We'll be back with 2 episodes next week. We'll be talking about the Rolex 24 as a review next week, and we'll be talking about Formula E second round as they head to Saudi Arabia for Diriyah and their E-Prix over there. Hopefully it's a little bit better than the Mexico City. Looking forward to that. It's going to be a good weekend of motorsport, hopefully. But, great time. Big thanks to Cam and RJ for the season preview. It's been a good vibe all around. Basically, you can find us one more time, youtube.com/motorsport101, Facebook, /motorsport101, Twitter @motorsport_101. Our personal handles @Dre_WTF1, @CBuckley917, @RJ O'Connell. Website motorsport101.com, patreon.com/motorsport1 if you want to back us financially on there. I've been Dre Harrison. They've been Cam Buckley and RJ O'Connell. Looking forward to the Rolex 24 this weekend. Until then, sayonara.